панели «Эффективность в агроиндустрии». Я предлагаю начинать. У нас очень камерная обстановка, небольшой зал. Нас немного, поэтому я надеюсь, что мы очень эффективно поработаем в ближайшие 1,5 часа. Хочу представиться. Мне и моему партнеру доверили модерировать данную секцию как эксперта в области права, экономики и финансов, интеллектуальной собственности. Максим Дешлюк, управляющий партнер Национального центра интеллектуального капитала и член Совета директоров Единого депозитария интеллектуальной собственности. И меня зовут Ксения Третьякова, управляющий партнер компании Value Arca Consulting. Мы занимаемся оценкой и финансами различных активов, в том числе IP и в том числе в агроиндустрии очень много работаем. Наша панель для сектора ИПК знаковая. На таком высоком уровне первый раз проводятся мероприятия в области IP именно в АПК-сегменте. Поэтому с чем я вас поздравляю, что мы начинаем дискуссию именно в этом направлении, очень приятно. Хочу отметить, что тематика IP довольно плотно пересекается с задачами государственной программы стратегического развития сельского хозяйства. Ведь, как известно, без интеллектуального капитала не будет и невозможно в долгосрочной перспективе эффективно управлять предприятием, обеспечивать конкурентность продукции, финансовую устойчивость, а также инновационное развитие.
Алло. Да, я хотел добавить, на самом деле, несмотря на то, что интеллектуальная собственность достаточно широко используется в других отраслях, то в секторе АПК, к сожалению, нашему тенденция неутешительная. На сегодняшний день Российская Федерация является одним из самых больших доноров технологий и знаний в мировой рынок интеллектуальной собственности. На самом деле достаточно забавно порой наблюдать, как какой-то продукт, не нашедший применения или не смогший пробиться на рынок Российской Федерации, возвращается на рынок уже в зарубежной упаковке и находит, собственно, здесь свою нишу. Я бы хотел несколько цифр привести перед началом непосредственно сессии по статистике, в каком состоянии находится рынок интеллектуальной собственности Российской Федерации. И, собственно, статистика у меня вот какая. На сегодняшний день порядка 12% всех мировых исследований делается в Российской Федерации. Порядка 10% ученых на сегодняшний день работают в иностранных государствах, развивают науку. И если мы посмотрим в количественном и качественном соотношении, то на Российскую Федерацию приходится всего лишь 0,27 дохода от использования интеллектуальной собственности. А если мы говорим по процентовке владения и использования правами на интеллектуальную собственность вот, в рамках нашего мира, это всего лишь 1,3%. Вот. В то же время вот я хочу привести такой очень маленький пример по импорту и экспорту, на мой взгляд, на самом таком понятном и известном объекте интеллектуальной собственности, как товарные знаки. Так вот, экспорт товарных знаков в мировую промышленность или в мировой рынок составляет 0,2%, импорт товарных знаков составляет почти 22%. То есть мы по большому счету являемся в том числе одним из самых больших использователей товарных марок в глобальной индустрии. Отдельно хочу сказать, что и правовая охрана, и защита, все это хорошо. Но самое главное, это правильное и эффективное использование, да, то есть коммерциализация технологий, введение в хозяйственный и экономический оборот.
И в качестве первого примера, да, очень интересного примера коммерциализации знаний, хочу пригласить микрофону Никиту Обидина, эксперт в области продаж и развития электронной торговли в сегменте B2B на рынке продуктов питания, директор по продажам торговой платформы Агро24.
Добрый день, уважаемые участники нашей дискуссии. Рад начать. И хочу отметить, что действительно проект Агро-24 в первую очередь является трудом интеллектуальной собственности. Да, мы ее активно защищаем. У нас есть патенты, товарные знаки защищены и так далее. Да. А с точки зрения коммерциализации, наверное, будет уместно рассказать несколько слов о самом проекте, да, в чем суть и для кого это и как.
Да, обязательно.
Ну и вот такими итерациями пойдем. Агро-24 это на самом деле большая торговая платформа по покупке и продаже продуктов питания, исключительно в B2B сегменте для юридических лиц и только оптом, мелким, средним и крупным. Основная задача проекта сделать сервис для профессионального рынка продуктов питания, который позволяет эффективно проводить сделки в данном рынке. Да? Это ключевыми игроками являются производители, агрохолдинги, торговые компании, дистрибьюторы и так далее. Вот мне подключили презентацию. Наверное, можно немножко пройтись по ней коротко. Итак, это действительно торговая платформа. Денежные средства не сразу напрямую поставщику, а оплачивать деньги в систему, на торговую платформу. Они там холдируются полностью до исполнения обязательств со стороны поставщика. И только если обязательства исполнены в полном объеме и в соответствии с договором поставки, который подписали стороны, причем он формируется тоже автоматически в системе, деньги перемещаются к поставщику. Отдельная система вычислять компании с пониженным рейтингом, которые срывают сделки, которые поставляют некачественный продукт и так далее, тем самым развивать отрасль в нужном направлении, в зону усиления качества продуктов, в зону усиления более экологичности, да, происходящих бизнес-процессов внутри, потому что рынок продуктов питания, так как и отрасль в целом агроиндустрии, да, она немножко закостенела и находится на текущий момент в активной стадии развития. Ну и наш проект как раз позволяет всем игрокам рынка АПК использовать современные технологические решения для усиления зоны продаж и для расширения, и для выхода на новые рынки, на самом деле, в большом, если брать ключи. Это если коротко.
Никит, а возможно ли усилить ваш ресурс функционалом Marketplace для коммерциализации интеллектуальной собственности? У вас отработано очень много серьезных программных механизмов, то есть вы интегрируетесь и с банками, и с различными ресурсами. Рассматриваете ли вы такую возможность?
Очень хороший вопрос. Действительно, мы развиваем различные зоны и границы сервисов, в том числе банковские сервисы, которые вы озвучили, да, для пользователей платформы. Это кредитная история, это расчетно-кассовое обслуживание, это факторинг и так далее. Отдельно есть зона сервисов, связанные с логистическими потоками, да, это сервисы, которые позволяют сократить логистические издержки для производителей, для поставщиков и для покупателей конечных продуктов. С точки зрения развития сервисов, которые позволяют лицензирование добавлять, да, и добавлять сервисы, о которых вы упомянули, в текущей модели, вот прямо сейчас, здесь и сегодня, у нас, к сожалению, нет этого функционала. Но мы точно планируем его развивать, потому что видим за этим большое будущее. Это актуальный вопрос, и я уверен, что мы в ближайшие год-3 года точно это реализуем. Добавится такой функционал, который позволит оказывать подобный сервис. Ну, на самом деле у нас точно есть это в планах.
Да, очень оптимистично и внушает надежду в нашу цифровую экономику в агросекторе. Никит, помогает ли ваш ресурс на сегодняшний день бороться с такой проблемой, как контрафакт? То есть это острая и действительно серьезная.
Это действительно очень острая проблема, в том числе она особо острым образом высвечивается на рынке продуктов питания, да, потому что контрафактной продукции достаточно много. В разных категориях продуктов есть огромное количество контрафактной продукции, скажем так. Да? И, конечно же, мы помогаем потенциальным покупателям и поставщикам работать в этой зоне с точки зрения обязательного предоставления, например, сертификатов и лицензий на продукцию и так далее. То есть мы стараемся исключать в рамках торговой платформы компании, которые не в состоянии предоставить какого-либо рода документацию на свою продукцию, да, и таким образом ограничиваем их от торговли и, соответственно, рынок немного, скажем так, добавляем рынку безопасности с этой точки зрения. Ненадежных контрагентов убираем. Собственно, так же, как и сами компании.
Сито получается.
Сито небольшое, если так грубо сказать, да, то сито. И вторая особенность в том, что все контрагенты, все юрлицы, которые так или иначе к нам попадают, а это все-таки достаточно большой сегмент, там сейчас порядка 80 тысяч зарегистрированных компаний в системе, да, они проходят двухфакторную проверку. Мы априори не допускаем на торговую платформу к торгам компаний, которые являются ненадежными контрагентами.
То есть это система аккредитации?
Это на самом деле система аккредитации, да, и система проверки юридических лиц. Она многофакторная, и это позволяет на первичном сразу этапе отсеять все, что, скажем так, не относится может содержать потенциальную угрозу.
Возможно, есть вопросы из зала?
С удовольствием на них отвечу, если такие есть.
Хорошо, Никита, спасибо. Я предлагаю Виктору Асланову рассказать нам про свой пример цифровизации фермерства в Казахстане. Виктор Асланов, генеральный директор информационного агентства «Зерновые и масленичные».
Я, как меня уже представили, Виктор Асланов, руководитель сельского бюро «Зерновые и масличные Казахстана». Мы очень много занимаемся исследованиями в области АПК, больше клен, конечно, у нас в родную отрасль, казахстанскую. И, естественно, мы сталкиваемся в своей деятельности и сами реализуем несколько проектов по каким-то новым цифровым наработкам. Но здесь я в своем сегодняшнем выступлении я хотел бы упор сделать на том, что вообще в стране моей делается в плане цифры. У нас внедрена программа ЕАПК, разработана уже там и так далее. И вот пока две целевые И в качестве примеров таких должно заработать у нас несколько цифровых ферм. То есть это полностью смарт такие фермы, неважно, в растениеводстве, в животноводстве, вот тоже такая задача поставлена. Определены три левела, что ли, для перехода к этим смарт-фермам. И в целом они... Нет, сори, я не включил этот слайд. В общем, получается, что все процессы там автоматизированы. То есть это первое, это учет, наблюдение за какими-то, то есть компьютеры стоят на комбайнах, компьютеры внедрены в животных, компьютеры внедрены, естественно, учет продукции, все, в общем, все такое.
А какой экономический эффект достигается? То есть что дает возможность внедрения компьютера на каждом шагу?
Да, корова с компьютером, это как-то пугает.
Да, есть такие полюсы, там они передают много чего.
Дает цифровое молоко.
Нет, болюсы, чтобы отслеживать температуру, да, повышается температура, соответственно, корова должна скоро отелиться. И, в общем, много таких сигналов. Болюс передает.
То есть это получается, я извиняюсь за жаргон, такие помогаторы, да?
Да,
то есть, именно чтобы отслеживать в режиме в текущем режиме, да, как функционирует и работает та или иная ферма.
Да.
Вот. Но здесь все-таки не идет разговор о каком-то полном цикле автоматизации. И все-таки мы говорим о том, что, я сейчас утрирую, есть не знаю, какой-нибудь цех, где
Ну, я понял вас. Понятно, что без человеческого участия там все процессы не будут исполняться.
Мы, получается, пытаемся заменить человека
Да.
машиной и именно вот эту некоторую халатность, да, которая
Да.
может быть, собственно, человеком допущена.
Да.
Убирается человеческий фактор.
Тогда со стороны все-таки, я извиняюсь, что мы прям вклиниваемся, да, вот, потому что тематика очень интересная, вот именно с точки зрения именно IP. Каким образом вы охраняете или подразумеваете потенциальное масштабирование? То есть, вот, допустим, рынок России на сегодняшний день, я так понял, открыт к новым технологиям, инновациям. Но задача рынка нашего, да, заключается в том, что будут использованы только те технологии, которые прошли какую-то верификацию, некую апробацию. То есть, если они дали эффект в такой-то климатической зоне, соответственно, они могут быть применены там, вот, в нашей климатической зоне. То есть, как-то это вот прорабатывается?
Да, честно говоря, не очень. Потому что все как бы, технологии, которые есть, они, естественно, завозные у нас, очень слабо, как бы, только все в зачаточном таком виде. Если какие-то разработки, то это очень-очень слабо.
То есть, грубо говоря,
Начальные
как
попытки,
конструктор собрать, да,
да,
взяли
да.
там интересную какую-то модель, здесь интересную модель, да, соединили, взлетело, здорово, начинаем там ее внедрять и пытаться как-то демонстрировать. Вот, понятно.
К сожалению.
Да, вот, собственно, этот слайд про я как-то перелистал его. То есть
Каких-то кейсов уже ваших предприятий есть, примеры, насколько сократились затраты, например, при использовании цифровизации, то есть увеличилась, одновременно
я понял.
маржинальность?
Есть примеры, конечно, там, тут больше не увеличение, как скажем, производства, да, а сокращение затрат в первую очередь. То есть там, при посеве, при внесении удобрений или средств защиты растений, естественно, там эти технологии они очень помогают. То есть расходовать их меньше, да, простыми словами. И, собственно, вот, естественно, рентабельность вырастает. На начальном уровне, только как бы начинаем что-то понимать в этой сфере, и вот, как я сказал уже выше, привлекаем как бы технологии к себе в страну, начинаем их это как бы то, к чему как бы опять же стремятся, где как резерв, да, для внедрения цифры. То есть автоматизирован только 1% как бы из всего того, что можно. И большой потенциал как бы есть. Прикладном в такой сфере у нас разработана система cloud именно для бизнеса сельскохозяйственного. Несколько там есть сервисов. Первое это субсидии. Сейчас достаточно так активно у нас это все обсуждается и внедряется. Автоматизировать выдачу субсидий. 14 видов сейчас там можно сделать. Как вот хотел рассказать, как это все работает. Сейчас. Что он через один ставит. Вот. То есть вначале оцифрован. Есть поле, вот грубо говоря, да, есть поле, у него есть кадастровый номер, у него есть карта, ширина, долгота и так далее. Собственно, эти параметры были внесены в этот сервис.
То есть по принципу, находится ли поле в сельхозобороте или не
Да,
находится,
конечно,
да?
конечно,
То есть
да.
вот получился пул такой.
Я тогда поясню.
Земельный пул
С самого
вообще.
начала есть несколько видов земель, и из них один из них это земли сельскохозяйственного назначения.
Ну это понятно.
Да, и вот когда они имеют кадастровый свой номер, они имеют, естественно, какие-то свои координаты, это все включено в сервис. Теперь от этого отталкиваясь, как бы зная, что человек имеет поле, возделывает его, историческая есть какая-то составляющая, ну, в смысле, исторические данные какие-то есть, что он не один год как бы работает на идет отталкивается от гектаров. Сколько гектаров у человека, значит, собственно, столько есть.
На развитие своих технологий выделяет ли государство?
Об этом была речь, да, хороший вопрос, спасибо. Но, к сожалению, пока вот до этого не дошло. Наверняка это будет как бы, тоже обсуждаться, но только
Вопрос будущего.
декларативная часть такая состоялась, но не более.
Мгм.
Ну, да, странно. Вообще, на самом деле, вопрос как бы эта апробация законов, да, то есть происходит, когда, вот опять же, мы посмотрели.
По факту, да.
Да, именно по факту.
Да.
Вот. И вот я на самом-то деле как раз надеялся услышать, что вы уже
Шагнули, да?
Да. Жаль.
К сожалению, нет. Да, собственно говоря, даже оценки еще пока нет. Ну, вот основная это большая проблема на начальном этапе это просто оценить, да, вот весь этот объем, весь этот вал предложений, которые заходят в страну, все они как бы на поверхности интересные, а насколько они будут полезны, да, насколько вот, отфильтровать вот этого фильтра, пока как бы не налажен, не работает.
В любом случае задел есть.
Ну да. Виктор, а как фермеры относятся к вот инновациям, тем, о которых вы говорите, да, цифровая ферма, есть еще, я насколько знаю, и ваши, да, значит, электронные зерновые расписки, да, то есть это ново, а фермеры, они хоть и очень трудолюбивые, но обычно консервативные люди. Вот как они реагируют?
Даже немножко закоснело. Но все новое, как бы, вот этот вопрос тоже меня одно время как бы заинтересовал, да, вообще как у нас, ну, как бы инертность, что ли, нашего населения вот, к новым услугам. Да. У нас есть такой Каспий банк, и они активно всякие мобильные сервисы, там, кредит взять там, и так далее. Я попросил у них статистику, то есть там есть сервис, то есть оплата коммунальных платежей, там такие простейшие. Сколько пользователей этого сервиса? Оказалось, что этот пользователь уже приближается к 2 миллионам. То есть 18 миллионов в Казахстане живет, 2 из них пользуются этими сервисами. Соответственно, если у одного человека в семье, то есть там, эту цифру можно смело на 2 умножать. То есть это, к слову, насколько готовы вообще люди. Да? Фермеры те же самые люди. Если что-то удобное будет и понятное внедрено, то есть то, что сейчас уже действует, да, вникают. Я дальше буду говорить об этих электронных цифровых расписках. Ну, поначалу, конечно, было небольшое отторжение, была критика, да, но потом в процессе работы это очень даже так, хорошо было воспринято рынком, и цифры уже есть как цифры.
Спасибо, Виктор, большое. Вопросы еще из зала есть по поводу опыта в Казахстане?
Аэросъемку? Ну, конечно. Ну, опять же, это вот единичные такие случаи, да, приезжают какие-то люди, да, вот я хотел бы.
Ну, традиционные, наверное, технологии.
Да, конечно.
Спасибо, Виктор, большое. Ну, как я отметила, да, что фермеры, они испокон веков отличаются трудолюбием, преданностью своего дела. И несмотря на урбанизацию, тем не менее они находят способы вести свое хозяйство и в условиях городской среды. Я приглашаю Татьяну Дубовскую, руководителя Урбани Эко, рассказать о направлении сети фермерства.
Да, здравствуйте. Наверное, тоже здесь нужное место. У меня есть презентация, если вы увидите, она значительно поможет мне объяснить, чем мы занимаемся. Так, что такое сети фермерства? Это фермерство в городских условиях. Сейчас наиболее развитая часть фермерства – это выращивание растений. Мы практически все слышали про вертикальные фермы. Но тренд этот накладывается на большой тренд глобализации, о том, что города становятся больше, население наше растет, и чем-то его кормить надо. Потому что
И город с селом объединяется
Да.
как-то постепенно.
люди во всем мире выбирают жить в городах, то есть идет отток сельскохозяйственного населения. И, конечно, мы смотрим дальше и позиционируем сетифермерство в том числе как отрасль, которая выращивает не только растения, но еще аквакультуры и водоросли, и насекомые. Технологически это возможно, и, к сожалению, и к счастью, не знаю, у кого какие вкусовые предпочтения, мы будем с вами есть чипсы из водорослей, чипсы из напитки из водорослей, чипсы из насекомых. Это дело горизонта не более 10 лет.
Главное об этом не знать.
Если это вкусно, мы все равно будем это есть. А выращивать сырье для таких продуктов выгоднее в городе. Технологии удешевились настолько, что сейчас это стало возможным делать из этого основу для бизнеса.
Расскажите, как это делать.
Да. Старт развития сетифермерства как бизнесового, по моим ощущениям, произошло в 2016 году, то есть всего пару лет назад, чуть больше 2 лет назад, когда в компанию американскую Plenty венчурный фонд наконец-то ввел 200 миллионов. До этого этим занимались на уровне гаражных инициатив или университетских лабораторий. Я хочу сказать, что я видела в Москве в федеральном агроинжиниринговом центре остаток фермы 30-летней давности, когда Советский Союз планировал полететь на Марс. То есть технологий много, они на полках, они сейчас стали доступными, и цена на продукты повысилась до такой степени, что на этом на некоторых культурах стало возможно зарабатывать. То есть венчуры — это показатель того, что увидели в этом рынок. Я хочу сказать, что я предполагаю, что из разных городов приехали. В каждом городе, в Калининграде в том числе, есть ребята, которые продают оборудование, делают всевозможные аналоги того, что придумали в Советском Союзе, того, что придумали в Америке, того, что придумали в Японии. Это, в принципе, все об одном и том же. То есть в России чем хорошо, как мне кажется, в том, что у нас довольно большая свобода в плане того, что если ты левша, в классическом виде, то есть человек, у которого очень милые ручки, то ты можешь по-своему изобразить, и очень много людей амбициозных, которые не боятся и создают свои собственные решения, каждый из которых уникален. Что из этих решений станет хитом на рынке, будет доминировать, пока еще нету возможности предсказать. Сейчас идет соревнование между двух технологий. Это стеллажи. Все знают, что вертикальная ферма — это в основном стеллажи, да, стереотип. И есть решение, которым мы обязаны, Bright Agrotech. Это американская компания. Больше 10 лет назад ребята вывели это на рынок. Это действительно инновация, в моем понимании, что эта технология ZigGrow называется. Она на 30% эффективнее, чем стеллажная технология. Но и все это сотни до 300 раз эффективнее, чем открытый грунт. То есть у нас открытый грунт, закрытый грунт, дальше мы идем вверх, растем, это все у нас прогресс, и мы пришли к ферме. У нас ферма наша в Москве, действующая ферма с поставкой в сеть магазинов «Сфера». Находимся в метро Кантемировском, 300 метров от распределительного центра. То есть утром срезали, днем уже на полке. И я считаю, что это та революция, то, за что мы должны сказать спасибо сетифермерам. Потому что некоторые культуры, которые в сезон у нас не выращиваются, которые на 90% сейчас импортные, к нам они завозятся самолетами, каждый раз из какой-то очень далекой страны. Сейчас мы это можем выращивать в месте нашего проживания. Мало того, сейчас
Planted goods are important, but we can change that. Even at home, on your window, you can grow your own crops. It would be a fully automated and a rather cheap product. And that is a very engaging process, by the way. One of the obstacles that the market now faces is labor force. City farming is one of the professions of the future, according to the Skolkovo survey, but unfortunately city farmers are not yet trained. You have to educate yourself. You should be well versed in lighting, in engineering, and in management. You should know how to run a business, how to certify your goods. In 2016, we took part in a education innovation competition. We stated that we wanted to train people how to be city farmers. And of course, future city farmers, they would collect all of the necessary information from special forums on the growers' forums. And there are joint farms, for example, there is now this farm in Georgia, and I believe we will have this in Russia, not only to grow plants and crops for food, but also medical plants. At some point, I realized that people who come to my training sessions are men around 30 years of age, entrepreneurs. So they are very progressive and very active. So that is my average audience. Of course, their primarily source of information are English-speaking websites and forums. So, of course, we could teach them theory, but they need practice as well. That is why we decided to launch a practical program. It is a 5-week course, and the final work is a project of a city farm. And our students tell us that one day at a real farm gives them more than work with a tutor. Of course, we do not only provide them with some technological knowledge, but we also teach them everything they need about logistics and certification, and they all can grow a variety of crops. That is a photo of our farm. We continue growing various plants, we experiment, and we do hope that we will change consuming patterns of our people, because they simply go to supermarkets and they choose from what they have at a supermarket, from what they see on the shelves. We change that. We want them to grow plants. We now have rocket salad around 18 varieties, mint around 25 varieties, basil. Only through city farming such a variety will be accessible to the population. It is, of course, especially popular with people who are very mindful about their health, who prefer a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet. And that is it. I'm ready to take your questions. Tatiana, would you please tell us, despite this positive trend, this popularity that city farms enjoy, you as a person who knows it all, of course you face these issues with IP. How do you resolve such issues, if there are any? Of course, the first thing you do is register your trademark, because the technology is easily reproducible, and there is a number of updates that people introduce, and we have a lot of talented people who can do that. Secondly, know-hows are important, and they are shaped by various aspects that help you to reach a very stable outcome, because every second engineer can build such a city farm. A talented engineer can grow something on a farm, but it is not an easy task to sell what you've grown on a vertical farm. So I believe for the next 2 to 3 years, the market will still have a lot of place to accommodate everybody. As for competition on the market after that, well, I do not see any major obstacles in terms of IP, because farmers keep their know-how to themselves and they're all different. I shall say that they will compete for their place on the market and for their place on the shelf. So who has more money, who has more opportunities to be on the market, will be more successful. Major agriculture holdings, they now look into vertical farming for the future, in order, for example, to grow in Russia the crops that they now have to import. For example, if you sell green salad and you have your own brand, you actually import around 90% of the plants you use from other countries. Farmers, what about them? Are they more focused on the quality or on the quantity? You've said about this enormous variety of plants. Probably it is better to have 5 varieties of a plant, but of better quality. You know, I really see the difference between farmers and agricultural companies. Farmers are closer to their clients. For example, let us look at some private cheesemakers who can really experiment with their cheeses. Same goes for farmers. They spend their time to develop smaller businesses of up to 5 million. That's what we help them to do. And of course, they want to grow something that will be not only in demand on the market. You know that some of the imported plants and salads, their price is as high as that of redfish. And of course, in some time, chia seeds, for example, will get cheaper. Now they are imported. Chia seeds are imported to Russia. After that, somebody starts to do it here, and the price goes down. And after that, you have a new crop, a new plant becoming more popular. Microgreens are also very popular now. For example, women on maternity leave, they can have these rack vertical farms and make around 20,000 rubles per month. Tatiana, for your company, for Umani Eka, is franchise an option?
Вы сказали в самом начале.
In the very beginning, you've mentioned that you do not focus on patenting, you do not look into different forms of protecting IP, so you only deal with trademarks. And we are speaking about trademarks of a product and not of a farm. So you believe there is no future when it comes to smart boxes. Well, we do not spend our time on that, and we do not spend our resources on that. And I know patent holders who cannot make any money. Well, for example, I, as a client, want to buy a farm from you. Can I do that? Yes, we now offer our partners such an option, passive investors. We now construct a farm, and we will be ready to sell it and to manage it for a remuneration. But doesn't your model infringe on the rights of third parties? I know this initiative when they grow grass feed to replace combined feed at animal farms. And there are basically two people working on such a farm, a security person and a person who will administer some fertilizers. And all was good and well, but they didn't have anything to protect their IP. But when they wanted to get marketed, it turned out that everything that they did was already patented by somebody else. So all of their investments went into the drain. Don't you think that something similar may happen? And what about scalability? Do you consider franchising as an option, probably to go to the regions, to the CIS countries? I forgot to mention that we do processing. We process our products. For example, we grow basil and we make pesto sauce. And that is the most organic pesto sauce that you have in Russia. And zip grow technology visually is similar to what our American colleagues did, but it is very different from what they actually do, and we won't patent it because technologies keep improving, and that is the third variant. When we find a solution that cannot be further improved, we will spend our time and try to patent it. But now, when we are looking for some more solutions, for some improved versions of it, we won't spend time on it now.
We have already had 3 different installations in 2 years, so 2 years is not so much time, and probably at one day we will patent all of them, but not at this point. What about those who are installing those shelves? They construct those frames and everything. Well, probably they will patent it, I don't know. As for franchising, we've been considering franchising, but that is a very distant future for us. And today, we give our partners, potential partners, an opportunity to invest as passive investors. As for franchising, we need more time to show everyone that we are a successful example of how to do business in that sector. If we take this farm, we have only 7 different providers of lighting equipment. You see, every provider of lighting system says, well, I'm the best. And we need to really look into who is the best in practice. So we need to test it all, and then we will be ready for franchising. Thank you very much. That was very interesting. Well, you construct farms, you help others construct with farms. That's understandable. But how do you find market for your products? What is more important, to construct a farm or to find the consumers for it? Because you can grow it, you can make it, it's okay. But when you, after that, you need to sell it. Where do you find consumers, and how retail companies, how they react to your products, which are grown here locally? Could you please share your experience? I know that federal companies, I mean major Russian companies, they are not ready to embrace these technologies. They prefer working with agricultural holdings. They prefer to import salads and everything. And they don't work with small companies or farms like the ones you have. Well, no one knows what kind of model for mass farming will be most prominent in 5 years. No one knows that at this point. So we tell our students, first find your consumers. That is the key to success. I've been working in Russia, in the CIS region, and I've seen a lot of people who can grow very good products, but they do not know whom they could sell it. I said already that we first found Vkusville, that company who were ready to buy from us. And after that, we already started growing it. No, we had sample products. We had a container farm. It was a pilot project. We showed everything to Vkusville, to that company. We showed them our products, our farm, and everything. They compared us to other companies from Israel. I know that one of the competitors, they were from Israel. They compared the pricing, and I told them, we can give you better prices in hot season than anyone else. We cemented the pricing for 1 year, and we were giving them good quality and one and the same price for 1 year. And they were really, really appreciative of that. Then we started talking with coffee shops. You know, that market, it's fantastic. There is a number of seasons within 1 year when demand for a particular product is rising to some incredible levels. Unfortunately, there are many obstacles on the market, on this market. There are a lot of fees you have to pay when you fail to comply with the current regulations, counterfeit products, and then products which are imported illegally into Russia. All these things, they really harm the market. And retail companies, when they deal with this, they really understand how bad it is to finally find a good supply and then find out that this supplier sells you counterfeit products or illegally imported products. And we were giving them a very reliable way to buy necessary products here in Russia. Petrorichka, that chain of supermarkets we have, and Magnit, another chain of supermarkets, they have their own farms to grow tomatoes, sorry. And there is another case I know of. The farm in the city of Bryansk, they invested over 30 million rubles into constructing a new farm, and it was bought recently by one of the chain supermarkets. It's called Lenta. You see, it's a huge success story. First, we started working with retail companies, with supermarkets. After that, we will go to coffee shops and restaurants, because otherwise it will be too complicated. Thank you. We don't have too much time. And of course, we all know that it is not only difficult to find your target audience, your consumers, but it's also difficult to remain competitive. And that is a problem sometimes, to remain competitive. Sometimes it is difficult because of the counterfeit goods. It's an international problem. That is why I would like to ask our international guests to tell us about how this problem is being tackled in the sunny country of Italy. Please, you're welcome. Yvette, she is a lawyer and founder of a company, Fazana Pavlovics. The company is named.
Everyone. I'm sorry for my Russian, so I will present in English today. I'm coming from Italy. I'm an intellectual property lawyer, and today I will speak about the importance of agriculture and the protection, the protection of the intellectual property rights incorporated in the so-called Made in Italy products, and how technology can help us in this protection. So nowadays, food is in the center of our lives, and it's not only because it's a necessity to eat, but also because it's a question of health and well-being. So healthy diet can prevent, for example, diseases. And it's a very good example, the Mediterranean diet, which was recognized by the UNESCO in 2013 as an intangible cultural heritage of the South European countries. And in the center of this diet, there is the olive oil, which has a good effect to prevent heart diseases, for example. And quality food is also very important because eating is a pleasure. So if you eat a quality food, you can taste the difference. So as we saw, we can grow in city farms basil and do pesto. I don't discuss that it's not a good pesto, but maybe also there are some climatical factors that can affect, or for sure, on how vegetables and animals are grown and everything. So everyone in the world knows Italian quality food, and these slides show you the performance of Made in Italy, so the commercialization of the top 4 products of Italy. You see that we have the olive oil, and we are the second exporter in the world. We have leadership in Germany, USA, and Canada. And respect to 2014, there was 8% of growth in the export of olive oil. Everyone knows about prosciutto ham or San Daniele ham. These are very famous products. We are the first exporter in the world, and there was a boom of 23% of growth in 4 years in the export. Pasta is another good example. So you can see also the turnover that these products create. So when we talk about Made in Italy, it's also a question of economical growth. So it's important to have, beside the quality, the access to the markets, the good marketing, the good commercialization. For example, wines are very well known everywhere. Chianti wine, Prosecco, Italian wines are very famous also in Russia. And for example, in these 4 years, there were 21% of growth in exporting wine products to the countries. What is the problem? If these products are so well known and have reputation, there is also a big risk of counterfeiting these type of products. This is the phenomenon.
Есть очень высокий риск контрафактной продукции. Многие подделывают продукты и выдают их за итальянские по всему миру. Они используют изображения или бренды, которые намекают на то, что продукт был произведен в Италии, хотя на самом деле это не так.
The example is Parmesan cheese, which is considered, you can see on the picture, something like in a little bottle. It's impossible that you have Parmigiano Reggiano in that form. Or you can see the picture is little, so you cannot see what is written on it. Rich, which is an alcoholic drink. It was called originally Rich Prosecco. You know that Prosecco is one of the top products of Italy. In 2018, the export of Prosecco wine increased incredibly. So, for example, in the USA, Italy sells more Prosecco than France sells champagne. So it's really important to protect the name when we talk about the product or vegetables. We have different kind of protection to which we can access. So not only in the name, but also the raw materials. So if it's a new plant variety, for example, it is possible to protect also a plant variety. So why technology is so important nowadays in the food sector? Because as we saw, if you have well-known products with reputation, consumers are looking for that. But consumers want to be sure that what they are buying is original, is healthy, what happened during the plant, where are they coming from, what is the ownership of the product, the seeding, the treatments, the crop, all the processing, the storage, because every step of the production chain has an impact on the final quality of a product. So it is very important to, during the process, collect, treat, and then transfer maybe data which is related to the digital history of a product. So if you have the digital history of a product, you can assure that there is an authentic food, it has good qualities, and it's also a basic question from the point of view of the protection of an intellectual property right. Because, for example, in Italy, we have different protection levels for agri-products. So there is, for example, the collective trademarks, which are owned by consortia, who authorizes the producers to use, for example, a name like Parmigiano Reggiano. There is the consortia of Parmigiano Reggiano. There are the farmers around Parma, and there is a well-determined border where the farms are, how the cow is grown, what the cow is eating, how then the milk is processed, for how many months they have to have the cheese stored, at what temperature. So if these type of criteria and requirements are not met, a farmer cannot use the mark. So it would be also for the farmers a decrease in their income, because they can obviously sell a product with a famous trademark, Parmigiano Reggiano, for a higher price than a cheese which is the same quality maybe, but it doesn't have any trademark which protects such kind of product.
And
So,
Yvette, yes, how you solve this problem?
okay, how we solve this problem? As we said, there is technology that can help us, and today I brought an example, which is an experimental project of the Ministry of Agriculture. This project was launched during Wine Italy, which is one of the biggest trade shows on wine in Verona every year in April. And in 2018, the ministry launched Filiera 4.0 del Vino, which means the production chain 4.0 of wine. The scope is to protect the famous, well-known Italian wine products. A lot of wine consortia and wine producer adhered to this project. And what is it about? It's a project which was technically developed by Almaviva. It employs blockchain technology to certify the certainty of the origin and authenticity of a wine bottle. So there are some data which are provided by the National Agriculture Information System, and the blockchain platform allows to confirm that the quality of the wine product through an app which is called Analogy, and on the wine bottle there is on the batch there is applied a verifiable and readable NFAC tag, which you can scan with a smartphone or with a tablet, and through that the app says you have all the information about the product, so how it was processed, the raw materials, where the wine production area is exactly, so how the data is provided. Within this system, all the entities, all the subjects, persons who take any step during the process has to provide through the blockchain platform data. So they are enforced through smart contracts. So the data is in this system, and in that way the consumer can be sure 100% that a wine that was bought is a real Chianti, a real Prosecco, a real Valpolicella, or I don't know in Russia which is the most famous Italian wine, but I think everyone knows at least one of them.
Спасибо, Ивет. А скажите, пожалуйста.
Thank you so much. Could you please tell us, let me please ask this question in Russian for our audience. Ivat, could you please tell us, you've said that the Ministry for Agriculture supports this initiative, supports this project, but what about laws and regulations in the sphere of blockchain? What is done in terms of legislation here to use blockchain for such purposes?
It's a good question. Thank you very much. The problem is that it's an ever-evolving technology and solution, and the legislation is always slower than the technology is. So legislation is always a step behind the technology. There are some indication, but it's a difficult question to regulate blockchain technology in Italy, also because we are within the EU. So in some questions there are different competencies between the EU and Italy. So it's also important to understand what is the national level and what is the EU level, and especially in agriculture sector there are a lot of competencies that related to the EU.
Yes, it is a big, long way.
Yes, as every time.
Yes, thank you. Может быть, вопросы из зала?
Maybe we have some questions from the audience to our speaker.
Пожалуйста.
Could you tell us, please, who pays for these NFC tags and who possesses the service which hosts this distributed ledger data? Can the producers themselves introduce data to these NFC chips, or there is some official state agency which does that?
So the data is provided by the producer and all the persons who are involved in the process. From the field until the consumer. But there is, in order to employ this technology in the bottle batches. It's a state competence because we have this batch which is controlled by together with the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Finance. So as I said before, there is another agency involved in this question, which is the National Agriculture Information System. This is a system which is held by another authority, and this authority controls the data and everything that enters into the system.
Кто платит?
The cost. Who pays for it? The technology was developed by this company, which is Alma Viva, which is a private company, so it's not a state-owned company. And the farmers doesn't have a big cost because once you have the technology which is available, you have only to apply it. So.
Платит тот, кто чья.
So the farmers pay for it. It's cheap, but still farmers have to pay for it. Okay. I also think that the best pesto is where the basil is traditionally found in Italy. But in Russia, we have half a year of winter. We have sanctions, and some products which we have in Russia, they are not of good quality sometimes because of sanctions and everything. We produce pesto from basil. We do not cook it or heat it or anything. It's very fresh. We use only extra virgin oil from Italy, and we use parmesan from Italy. And in Moscow, I think our pesto is the best because we follow classical recipes. But I totally agree, the best pesto is in Italy. But still, when people try our pesto, they say it's very much like the one we tasted in Italy.
Don't doubt that your pesto is good, and maybe basil is not a good example because there is no demonstrated connection that basil, which was grown near to the Ligurian Sea, is a better basil than that one in Russia. So to respond to your question, maybe what is important is the Parmigiano in the pesto.
Thank you, but
Thank you.
Thank you very much. В продолжение.
And continuation of this topic, I think we can proceed further on to selective breeding, to selection and intellectual property in that area. And I would like to ask Admir Gareev to talk about that. He represents IPQuorum company. Good afternoon. May I have a clicker, please? Well, first, I would like to thank you for talking about this issue. We've been visiting various forums for 3 years. We've been visiting a lot of conferences, but almost no one pays attention to intellectual property and its protection here in farming and agriculture. I'm from Bashkiria. We have a number of gardens. We have a lot of berries, blackberry, and apples, and of course we also produce decorative plants. When we were only started, we had our one strategy in mind. We thought, okay, we will buy plants, we will plant them, we will grow food and then sell it. We thought it was very easy. No, it's not easy because there were no good plants to cultivate. It was incredibly difficult to find good plants to plant. Take, for instance, Italy. They export strawberries to Russia. That's true, but we cannot really grow them because genetically modified products are not allowed in Russia, and we cannot add anything to make it suitable for our soil, for our climate. Then climate, yes, is a problem. It kills plants very often, like 3 years ago. Mostly, this kind of farming can be found in the south of Russia. Polka is probably the most popular variety of raspberry, but it is not found anywhere except for the south of Russia because you cannot grow it anywhere. In Russia, we used to have only 5 to 6 farmers who would work with berries. You see, that was too little. In Bashkiria, we have 1 or 2, but the one we have, it's like 3 people. They do everything on their own. Only 3 people. It's very small. They don't produce any new varieties. It's just not enough. There are people, there are companies who still get profit from this market. The market is very small. It's like 1.5 billion euros, but it's all exported from abroad. We have to import it all. It's all exported by other countries. We have nurseries. Yes, you can produce fruits, you can produce berries, but there is no regulation. There are no competencies in place. There are no specialists who know how to grow food. If we take the Netherlands, they have wonderful specialists and experts. You can buy seeds, you can buy plants and plant them afterwards. There is a huge market, a huge variety to choose from. And there is a whole chain of companies. One sells the seeds, another one can grow them for you, the third one will collect the crop, and the fourth company will help you sell it all. In Russia, there is nothing. Breeders, they cannot really make any real profit. I will be going to Siberia, and there is the best sea buckthorn nursery. It's really the best in the world. It's very healthy. It's very good. For instance, apples. Apples are good. They're healthy. But sea buckthorn, it's several times as strong in terms of vitamins as apples. B1, B2, everything is there. And these breeders from Siberia, they will be giving us the planting stock, and they will get only 50 rubles per item. It's like less than €1. Can you imagine?
We now work with very nice breeders. They are already retired, but they are doctors of biological sciences. They breeded so many varieties of currant in Bashkiria and Bashkirkistan, around 25 varieties. But their pension is 12,000 rubles. And these are people who breeded real varieties of plants. And what are you so unhappy about here? I'm unhappy with the fact that these women do not have any royalties, do not receive any profit for what they did, for their intellectual efforts. Well, since we're talking about that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but these scientists, they breeders, if they protected their rights, then everybody who uses the results of their work in their business activities, they should pay them their royalties. It is true, and it is like that according to the law. But look what happens. For example, if a person breeds a new variety, they will have 10,000 rubles, but nobody verifies this variety, whether it commercially feasible. For example, in Bashkortostan, we have people who breed wild strawberries, but the property of this planting stock is rather low, and nobody will need it.
Итальянские сорта, которые
So we try to breed our own varieties, and what we do as a result, we buy planting stock from Italy because it is of higher quality. Because these berries, they last a couple of days, unlike our varieties that will only last until the evening. Unfortunately, what we had back in the Soviet Union, these breeding schools, it has already collapsed. Young employees, young breeders, they work with genes. They work mainly with grains and oil crops. For example, I can compare it to two businessmen who comes to Africa to sell frog shoes, and one company thinks, oh my God, we will go under, nobody wears frog shoes here. And another company says, we will be billionaires, they do not wear frog shoes here yet at all. We, for example, had to change our strategy. Now we have to spend some of our money to develop our own nurseries, plant nurseries. We want to have 500 hectares of gardens. We believed it would only take us 5 years, but now we're already into our 4th year into creating an ovary, a mother plantation for our gardens, because the risks are very high, unfortunately, and they are distributed through time. When will you know what kind of apple tree you bought? Only in 2 or 3 years. I know this case of a gardener from Tatarstan who invested a lot of money into an apple garden, and unfortunately none of his trees survived through winter. He bought planting stock from Uzbekistan, and this farmer bought him in autumn. And he thought that this planting stock was from a different area, that it was area specific, but it wasn't. And here blockchain can be a solution, because it will store all of the data about planting stock, about seeds, and this data will not be manipulated. For example, I know a company who produced honeybee, and they had all of the necessary information. Same goes for planting stock. You can have all of the information on a blockchain. And for example, if this new variety that a breeder comes up with will be commercially successful, of course the demand will be high. And the blockchain will store all of the information about the breeder, about the right holder. The point is, Russia is very much divided, and it has a lot of climate zones. We have the south, we have the north, and all of them require absolutely different planting stocks when it comes to how well they can tolerate adverse weather conditions. Well, Amir, first of all, thank you very much. for speaking about this problem, but I believe that now Gennady Tresvy will proceed with talking about this issue, and he will give you some answers, I do hope. Gennady Tresvy is a professional breeder, a geneticist, is an independent expert for Russian Ministry for Justice on anti-corruption initiatives. Well, I wanted to elaborate on what Radmir has said. It is true that seeds are very important for agriculture because 1/3 of our exported good accounts for seed market in Russia. This market is very peculiar, and if we try to regulate this market, if we try to regulate our IPRs, the results will be very impressive. What is the problem here? IP protection cannot be viewed only as IP protection. I mean, you go to court and that's it. The problem here is broader. And I suggest we look at this problem divided into three aspects. First of all, we are speaking about regulation from the state, monitoring activities, and IP protection. Today, all of the seeds varieties, all of the planting stock varieties for fruit and berries and flowers, they are all on special ledgers. And they are patented. That is why breeder can hope for royalties or for licensing remuneration. We have it all, but the mechanism is not working because the state doesn't regulate it in the right way, because law enforcement is corrupted, unfortunately. Let me share a couple of examples with you. For example, let us take a state commission that registers breeders' rights. It is a federal institution that is affiliated with Russian Ministry for Agriculture. It was established in 1992. This is an organization that was liquidated in 2002 and 2008 by the government, but commission is still there. It still has its 1 billion rubles from the budget each year, and they exercise more pressure on breeders. The problem is they introduced variety tests that cost around 43,000. In Russia, we have 14 regions, and if a farmer, a breeder, wants to test its variety in at least some of them, he or she should pay around 2.5 million. Now we have mechanisms in place to using NFC tax. We had such tests on potatoes, but unfortunately it doesn't work here. It works in Italy, but it doesn't work in Russia. If a producer produces 10,000 tons of seeds, he will only tag 2,000 of them. If we tag planting stock of some nice apple varieties, then there will be somebody to use this tax on other planting stock. You're right here, you are. Yes, so one more important point to consider is the right regulation. The Ministry for Agriculture, not so long ago, adopted Decree 622 on storage, transportation of seeds. the Ministry for Agriculture can issue such decrees. But that inflicted huge damages on our breeders, 70 billion rubles, because as soon as it was adopted, everything that was done before it became illegal. We paid 1 ruble per 1 package of seeds, and breeders had to throw all of this away. We calculated the damage, 17 billion rubles. Now we have blockchain. We suggest using this technology to verify the quality of seeds and life and planting stock from the day one. For example, if we know that in 2016, 1,000 apple trees were grown, another 1,000 will not suddenly appear out of nowhere because we have all of the information on blockchain. The question is, who will pay for service? Who will pay for tax? So the mechanism is not yet here. And who pays for it? I believe that for one enterprise, the cost will be 50,000 rubles.
Радиочастотных меток, антенны на въезд-выезд.
Но смотрите, это вопрос же, то есть увеличивается.
So, speaking about the cost of this MVC tax, what can we do here? We can calculate it, but the mechanism should be supported by the state, because those who will decide to have these additional costs, they should have privileges. They should not exercise, they should not feel any excessive pressure. Now, for example, if you, say, have 3 kilos of tomato seeds, you have to produce 30 grams of these seeds for health tests. You need to give away another 30 grams for auxiliary qualities, and 1 gram of tomato seeds can cost more than 37,000 rubles, just 1 gram. And we have a third sample for genetic modification. And people who work in this sphere, they simply run their businesses using state interests as an excuse. For example, genetic modifications. On the website of Russia's agricultural agency, we have a number of a list of 20 substances that are forbidden for the use. But each plant, on average, has 3,000 genes on its DNA. If we only tested for 20 of them, can we say that a plant is free of genetic modifications? No, we cannot. So this whole thing is a money laundering scheme. And most importantly, I would like to say that on our market, 86% of seeds are foreign, and they are protected. And our seeds, unfortunately, are not protected because our state institutions are not up to date enough. And the people, unfortunately, do not have enough education, or I do not know what, to protect their rights. And even the Supreme Court says that 40% of the population do not trust in courts. And maybe this figure is even higher. And that is why people do not go to courts to protect their rights. But we should start to do that. Yes, that is right.
That is why I propose to find ways out of this deadlock. We need to unite our efforts, right? You have your association for planting stock farming. Yes. We should unite with them. Together we can make something good out of that. I am a fan of capitalism. Capitalism is good. People vote with their pockets, with their money. If you do not like a product, you never buy it again. We do care about our products. We have one hybrid variety. It's very good. It's really good. Last year we saw the first crop and we now have it. We did not patent it. Why? Why should we do that? We only want to sell it. We don't want to patent it or anything. But we will not be getting any money from it. No one will be giving us royalties or anything. You see, you just don't think that justice can be restored. You just don't believe it can be happening. And you just don't want to do that because of that. This is the end of our panel session, you know. And I think that a very burning issue now is in front of us. We need to change our mindset. We should come to the realization of the fact that intellectual property is what we need. We need to protect intellectual property. We need to help our scientists to create new varieties and then protect them. My colleague from Italy, I've been to Italy many times to attend various courses and programs, and they are very smart when it comes to protecting intellectual property. It's an act of creation, scientific creation, artistic creation. That's creation. Second, law. Law is important. Legislation should be very strong. You should have the rights protected. And then money, economy. Because all we do is in this way or another is meant to give us money. We breed in order to make money on these new breeds, right? And we can do that only if these new breeds are protected. We need to change our mindset. We breed a new variety, but we will not do anything. We will not be introducing any initiatives. We'll just complain that we are not subsidized, that we are not protected. We'll just complain and do nothing. That's our mindset, and we need to change it. Our businesses should change their mindset. Businesses should start doing something because it's up to the businesses to start the process. The state, the authorities will only finalize these initiatives, but these initiatives should be proposed by businesses. I agree, but our state institutions should be also mature enough to face these issues. Our state institutions say that our businesses are thinking only about money, but that's not true. We want to have our breeding culture preserved, the breeding culture we had inherited from the Soviet Union. For instance, quarantine issues. We cannot impose quarantine on some breeds, on some plants, because it's too monopolized. Yes, that's true, it's too monopolized. They say, well, some people from the Ministry of Economic Development and the Federal Anti-Monopoly Service want to give this function on quarantines to commercial companies so that any company could get a license and be in charge of quarantine imposition in their region. Can you imagine that? Do you remember who was our president back in 2011? It was Mr. Medvedev, and Putin was prime minister. And Vladimir Putin, had that idea of transferring these authorities to commercial companies. I did not know why he thought that would be good, because that is not going to be good. And there is a huge article on that, published in one of the famous newspapers. It says that the state has given only 8 licenses to 8 companies who were licensed by the federal agency. That is why now we have a monopoly in that sector. Now we have 200 companies, 200 licenses. That's what they say officially, but in fact, only 8 licenses are given. That's the real information we have. So the situation is quite dire. It's awful. For instance, if we take healthcare issues, we take a farm and we want to have that farm protected from all the diseases and everything. It used to cost us 3 million rubles to have a verification procedure passed with the authorities. Now it takes us more than 3 million to pass that procedure that would verify that our farm is safe. Please give the mic to the speaker. Here is a good example. I think that should be the last example because it's quite the end of our session. No mic. Please turn on the mic. I can explain you. There is a nursery, it's called School Garden. They have a new raspberry variety now. How can they get any profit from breeding that new variety? Now they say, okay, we want to get royalties. This new raspberry variety is very good. If you want to have it, pay 100 rubles per each plant. So if I want to do that, I have to invest a lot of money. And then I will have to wait for 3 years because it takes 3 years for raspberry to be ready to give you enough crop. That's too much. But what is happening today is that companies buy 10 to 30 pieces of this raspberry without paying any royalties afterwards, and then they breed it themselves, violating everything you could violate. So these companies now have 1,000 to 2,000 pieces of raspberries, but they paid royalties, paid only for 10 or 20 of them. After that, they breed it all themselves. I can give you a life hack on how to commercialize. There is a very good way of commercializing your products. Go to court. Go to a legal firm. Sign a contract, and they will help you to win in court. You will punish those who stole from you, who stole your products, who were breeding your products without paying the royalties, and you will get your money. Because in the world, there are not so many countries where you can really go to prison for violating these kinds of intellectual property rights. In Russia, the court can rule out a real imprisonment sentence for those who violate breeding legislation which is in place to protect your intellectual property in the field of farming. So you just need to go to court. If everyone would go to court and sue those bad guys, that would change the legislation, that would change the situation. How could they do that? Well, we have a number of verification procedures for that in place. No, I don't agree. It's up to the court. Judges are just like you and me. They are not experts on breeding. So if a patent holder can prove in court that his rights are violated, then the court would support him or her. But this process is so long, half a year or more. But that would be a real precedent. And that would give all other bad guys a warning. You know, Masha and the Bear, that animation work, which is really famous across the world. They did it like that. They do not communicate with anyone on licensing or use of their characters for commercial use. All those dolls and chocolate, all this is counterfeit products. This Masha and the Bear studio, they have a huge department of lawyers. They just sue everyone. In 1 year of suing everyone through commercialization, they earned around 1 billion rubles. 1 billion rubles. Can you imagine? Okay, let's wrap this up. We, of course, can go on and on, but we need to complete this. I think agriculture is very closely intertwined with the regional elites among the authorities. And the courts do not work because it's all about people-to-people relations. But we need precedents like the one you described. Okay, what we should try and try again. Let me say one more thing. There is another mechanism I can talk about. It's genetic passporting of new varieties. So you give new genetic passports to new varieties. And probably that new mechanism will help you to win in court. It's cheap and it's fast. But that mechanism exists. Maybe it's not very well tested, but it exists. Okay, let's hope that next year we'll meet again and we'll have some real cases to discuss. So let's not be afraid to go to court to ask for legal protection. Okay, that is it. Thank you very much. I think we can really wrap this up. And if you want to discuss something else, we can go outside and do it there.